Alright, let's talk about Magna Carta. We're taught this is a sacred, foundational text of democracy, the moment when the people stood up to the tyranny and declared that even the king is not above the law. It's the bedrock of modern liberty, the great-great-granddaddy of the Constitution. It's a beautiful story and it's also mostly a lot of medieval marketing. First, let's look at who this people power movement was led by. It wasn't the peasant. It wasn't the common folk demanding their rights, it was a bunch of rich, powerful barons who were ticked off about taxes. King John had been bleeding them dry to fund his disastrous military campaigns in France. The Magna Carta wasn't a cry for universal freedom, it was a tax revolt by the 1% of the 1%. They weren't trying to liberate the serf, they were trying to protect their own wallets and feudal privileges, and the document itself, it's not a soaring declaration of human rights, it's a long, boring and incredibly specific list of feudal grievances. Most of the 63 clauses are about things like inheritance law, fish wares and the standards measurement for wine cask. It's less all men are created equal and more the king can't arbitrarily seize my land and must return my niece dowry. The one famous clause, the one about no free man shall be imprisoned except by the lawful judgment of his peers, was a great principle, but free man at the time meant wealthy landholder, not your average peasant. So what happened right after the King John reluctantly put his seal on it? He immediately ran to the Pope, had the whole thing annulled, and the civil war broke out anyway. The Magna Carta was a complete failure in its own time. It lasted about 3 months before being declared null and void. It was a political stunt that didn't stick. But here's the real kicker. For centuries, nobody cared. After the Civil War, the Magna Carta faded into obscurity. It was reissued a few times by later kings to placate the barons, but it was treated as just another obscure feudal document, not a living constitution. For over 400 years, it sat in the archives, largely forgotten. Kings kept ruling, parliament came and went, and nobody was quoting the Magna Carta to defend their liberties. So how did it become so famous? It got a massive PR makeover in the 17th century. During the English Civil War, the opponents of the monarchy needed a historical weapon to use it against King Charles I. They dusted off the Magna Carta and reinterpreted it as a symbol of the ancient rights of the Englishman against tyrannical kings. Later, American revolutionaries did the same thing, using it as a propaganda to justify their rebellion against George III. The Magna Carta we revere today isn't the 13th century document, it's the 17th and 18th century invention, a mythologized symbol that people retroactively projected their own ideas about liberty onto. It was a failed peace treaty between a king and his barons that was mostly irrelevant for centuries until it was resurrected by lawyers and revolutionaries as a handy piece of political branding. It's not the foundation of our freedom, it's the foundation of our talent for historical marketing.